Welcome back to part 2 of DIP1000's assignment. So I'm here to talk about a hobby of mine. So I'm going to show you something. You can probably already guess what my hobby is, but if you haven't already guessed, it's yoga. So yoga is a big passion of mine. It's been a passion of mine for the past few years. I make it more of a daily thing. Why I love yoga is because it calms me down. It's very good to feel centered. Secondly, it's very good for your body. So stretching your body all over, also strengthening your muscles, and just getting the endorphin rush after doing it is the second reason why I really love yoga. And the third reason is that it makes me feel part of a community. So like any practice, any sport, there's always a community behind it, and it always feels great to be a part of it. So I love yoga for those three reasons. So yoga has been around since forever. So since it originated in India a long time ago, and obviously as the world changes and as technology gets introduced into the world, the nature of practices change, and yoga is no different to that. It has also changed tremendously. So traditionally, you would have a teacher, you would go to a yoga studio, you would take your mat, you'd take some yoga blocks, and then you would follow the class, much like a class at a school. But now, yoga is very digital. Obviously, you can still get these traditional ways of your yoga practice, but the e-world has changed quite a bit. So for example, now, especially in quarantine time, so during COVID, you don't even need to leave your house. So you can have a teacher that is streaming a live class, or they can you can have access to on-demand videos. So either you sign up to a specific yoga studio that has online classes, or a teacher that cannot teach because of COVID, they do a live streaming class over Zoom or Instagram maybe, or their own online streaming platform. So that's part of the paid community, and normally you would pay for these classes in order to support the community, support local teachers, and things like that. If you're perhaps wanting to get into yoga and you don't really know much about it, you don't really want to spend money on something, you want to try before you buy sort of thing, you can go on YouTube, which is the online social media platform for video sharing, and there's a plethora of free yoga teachers that put free content out there, shorter videos, normally 15 minutes to 20 minutes, even up to an hour of free yoga content. So that's what I've been doing actually for the past few months. I have one favorite teacher of mine from the channel called Boho Beautiful, and I have been following all of her yoga workout challenges. So they go for like a month, and she gives you the whole program, and you do it with her every day, and you can do it whenever you like. Even if you're getting in the more difficult postures, then you can pause the video and keep on practicing. So you can basically do it as fast as you like. So it's actually changed the way that you do the class as well. There's less embarrassment doing certain postures if you don't feel like you're good enough. You can keep on practicing. No one's actually watching you. You don't feel so much pressure. So there are some of the positives of doing it online. Obviously, a negative of this is that you don't have the physical teacher with you to see how you're actually doing in actual form. So it's it's different. It's just different. Also, another difference that the e-world has brought to yoga is signing up to classes directly from your smartphone. So you don't need to call up, you don't need to just show up, you can just sign up to the class from an app. So Yoga Studio will normally have an app, and then you just sign up like that, which makes life very easy, but obviously for some people it could complicate things. So I was asked to talk to someone that I don't think is as ICT literate or computer literate, and the person that I decided to talk to is my grandmother. So I talked to my grandmother about her usual ICT or computer literacies, and she said that she uses the computer to either play one Spider, so the card game Spider, or to trade on the stock market, because that's something that apparently she's always done. And my father has in fact showed her how to trade online. So she uses the computer for those two things, and doesn't really use it for anything else. So when I asked her why she doesn't use the computer, she said that she thinks it's quite overwhelming. So there is so many things to learn that she didn't learn when she was at least my age, which makes it a very overwhelming experience. She thinks there's too many things to learn, so it's almost impossible for her brain to comprehend. And also she prefers to do things in person, so things like online banking. She does kind of know how to do it, she says, but she much prefers to go to the bank because she likes the social aspect of leaving the house, talking to the bank teller, and she thinks that it's more practical for her. Yeah, which I, kind of disagree with, because for me, doing it online is so much more practical. After asking one hobby of hers, she said that communicating with her grandchildren is one of her greatest hobbies. And she has over 17 grandchildren. So she traditionally calls all of her grandchildren, at least the ones that can talk, via the phone on their birthdays, and just for anything important. So on the typical home phone, she would always call, ask for us, and then we'd talk. So back when I was maybe 10 years ago, when technology wasn't as big as it is now, I would always talk on the home phone. But times have changed, and home phones don't really exist anymore. At least in my house we have one, but no one ever calls a home phone. No one ever picks up the home phone because it's normally telemarketing. So if it's grandma trying to call, then we won't know. Okay? So she's had to find new ways to communicate with her grandchildren. Yeah, so another way that it's impacted is that we don't really talk on the phone very much anymore. We either send text messages or we use social media. Everyone's well aware of social media nowadays, but people like my grandma are not that aware of it. So that's when I came in and I helped her out a little bit with social media. So I introduced her to the world of Facebook and Facebook Messenger. So these were, she has heard of Facebook and Facebook Messenger, but she thought that that's where people just got news. She isn't wrong in that sense, but I said that's also where people mostly communicate. So communicate with their whole social network. So I taught her how to use Facebook. I made a profile for her and I sat her down and I walked through all the steps of Facebook and what we do and how it runs. And after she got the hang of it, she loved it. And now she talks to all her grandkids via Facebook, or at least the ones that have profiles.